So again, today we're going to talk about social media, but we are really focusing on how can social media work for you today, right now. So let's talk a little bit about why you would want to do social media video, right? There's a lot of different ways that we do video in journalism, right? Probably more traditionally, you might think of broadcast journalism, right? Video, these great video packages you see on TV, whether it is like on kind of like hard news or if it's in like a longer program, like a 60 minutes or something that's more interview based, right? We see great journalism done in video, but social media has really opened it up. And now we have the opportunity to do this on a wider scale, right? So let's talk about why some of the reasons might be that you might want to do social media video. Well, the first thing is traditional thinking, right? Like this is the most traditional normal reason why a media organization might want to do social media video. And that's just simply to drive traffic to the website, right? So originally when social media first started to kind of boom, organizations, non-journalism organizations and other organizations thought, hey, we have social media. As we build a following, our primary goal should be to get them to our website, right? Everything should have a link. Everything should drive you to the website, right? Well, now as years have gone on and we see how people use social media, you've learned that social media are platforms in themselves, right? Having a Twitter following is a place where you can actually do the storytelling on that platform. It doesn't have to just solely be a teaser to drive you to a website. And you have the opportunity to extend your reporting to a wider audience. And in some cases, a different audience. I have worked in a lot of newsrooms, and generally I'm always on the digital team. And when I'm on those teams and we analyze the audience and the people who are maybe following us on Twitter or like us on Facebook, that those people can be totally different than the people who come to our website. So that provides an opportunity. Instead of having the thinking that everybody on social media has to then come to your website, now we can think about, well, how can we serve the people who are there? What can we do? What ways can we transform this reporting that we have at our fingertips to give to these people that are on these social media platforms, right? And now what's extra important in 2020, we are mostly all working from home. Sometimes you just might want to connect with your audiences in an innovative way, right? You can be relatable. You can give audiences something without expecting something in return, right? We can just kind of, when we think about like being good stewards, good community members, right? We can do stuff that maybe this won't really help anything. You know, it might help our brand, but either way, we're doing something. We're making people smile. We are just being good people and good organizations. And that's something that is extra important in 2020 and something that we have seen media organizations start to embrace. Okay, so we're going to talk about a couple different video types or purposes, I would say, that you can again implement today. So one thing is just connecting, right? Going back to that idea of connecting with our audiences and giving them something, posting a video that simply connects you to those people, right? It doesn't really do anything. So one thing that we kind of everybody's kind of looking at is the Washington Post as far as media organizations and TikTok. So I'm a big TikTok person. TikTok is my favorite social media platform right now. It brings me the most joy. I sit in my room by myself and I scroll and I laugh and I giggle and I make videos. I send them to my students. I love TikTok. But one of the reasons why I love TikTok is that oftentimes you are just giving me something and I'm not really, you're not really asking much of me. You're just asking me to watch something and find some joy in it. So the Washington Post, though, out of all the kind of major media organizations that we think about, they've been doing this for the longest. They did this way before everybody else started jumping on the TikTok train. They were pretty much innovators in this space as far as media organizations, and their goal has always kind of been, we're going to do a mix of things, right? So they might post a video to remind you that the presidential debates are on tonight, but then they might post a video. Well, actually, they will then post several videos throughout the presidential debates. And then they might, have a colleague or a reporter come on and then talk more about a story that they just broke, right? So there's a mix of jokes and dancing and fun. And one thing that I have loved and really enjoyed that kind of started towards the beginning of the pandemic was they started doing this series called the Intern Olympics, right? So one thing that I love about that is that, again, the purpose, you are just connecting with people, right? Two, not only are you connecting with people, but you are kind of making people smile in a hectic and stressful time. And then kind of on a third level that's really cool is that you're highlighting these interns that work so hard. I don't know if any of you guys have had any internships yet. I'm sure you will in the next couple of years if you haven't, but sometimes being an intern can feel like a thankless job, right? You do a lot of work, you work really hard, and sometimes it might feel like, I'm doing all this stuff and I know I'm appreciative of this opportunity, but I don't really get much shine, right? And so I love how these videos highlight interns, and they were having interns working with them in their homes across the country, and it really probably even helped them feel more connected as an organization. So I just feel like sometimes it doesn't have to be a point. It doesn't have to maybe be social a story behind it. It can just be something that's fun, right? So let's look at this video of this one of the TikToks from the Intern Olympics at Washington Post.
Buckle up, folks, because our next summer Intern Olympic athlete means business. It's Arionne, and right away, he's wide open. Oh, that's going to be tough to explain to our editor-in-chief.
So that was like 15 seconds or less, something fun. And they had all this, they did a long series of this, right? They had one intern, he was doing like a swimming thing. He like jumped and like kind of dived into his swimming pool, and then he was swimming. They had somebody else who had to hold a pumpkin spice latte and light a whole bunch of candles in a certain time, right? So these were all fun ways, and they all showed kind of the fun, but also like the personalities of those individual interns. And basically, when we talk about a media organization, we're talking about people. So any opportunity that you can do to show that there are people behind an organization, then that's always a win in my book.
Buckle up, folks.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit again about what worked for this, right? That's really easy to do. Anybody who has tried TikTok knows that there's even videos of how to do certain things on TikToks, right? Like every new trend or new thing, there'll be a person breaking down, okay, this is how I did. And then I paused and then I sat in the same way. And I know because I watched those how-to videos and I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how to change my outfit in this video. Okay, all right. So I kicked the shoe and then, okay, got it, right? I watch these videos. And so there's a how-to video for any type of fun effect you want to do. And you meet your audiences where they already are. So if, for example, you are talking about your high school newspaper, if your audience is already on TikTok, meet them there, right? They're already there. But this could also be done on any platform you love. If, Twitter's really big at your school, if Instagram's really big at your school, whatever that platform is, you can do something fun and entertaining and to just really just make people happy. And skill level, very important, beginner. Now we're going to talk a little bit about something that's a little bit more, journalistically storytelling traditional, right? So we're going to talk about coverage, right? So something happened, you film it, you lightly edit it, and you add captions for social media. So this is a pretty, low stakes thing. This is something you could do really quickly. So whether this is a sports game or something, sports game. See, this is how you know how much I know about sports. I don't know, match, all the things, games, matches, tournaments, whatever, right? Something that's happening fun at your school, and you can, a assembly, a dance program, whatever that is. You film it, you can lightly edit it, and you add your captions, right? And now you have provided something for the people who weren't there or people who were there and they want to recap. So we're just going to look at a little bit of this video, how it was edited. Pay close attention to how it was edited, how simple it is, how many maybe angles you see. And this is just of Naomi Wadler speaking to a crowd for March for Our Lives, and the media organization that did this particular video is Now This.
My name is Naomi, and I'm 11 years old. Me and my friend Carter led a walkout at our elementary school on the 14th. We walked out for 18 minutes, adding a minute to honor Cortland Arrington, an African-American girl who was the victim of gun violence in her school in Alabama after the Parkland shooting. I am here today to represent Cortland Arrington. I am here today to represent Hadia Pendleton. I am here today to represent Tiana Thompson, who at just 16 was shot dead in her home here in Washington, D.C. I am here today to acknowledge and represent the African-American girls whose stories don't make the front page of every national newspaper. Whose stories don't lead on the evening news. I represent the African-American women who are victims of gun violence, who are simply statistics instead of vibrant, beautiful girls that full of potential. It is my privilege to be here today. I am indeed full of privilege. My voice has been heard. I am here to acknowledge their stories, to say they matter, to say their names, because I can, and I was asked to be. For far too long, these names, these Black girls and women, have been just numbers. I'm here to say never again for those girls too. I am here to say that everyone should value those girls too. People have said that I am too young to have these thoughts on my own. People have said that I am a tool of some nameless adult. It's not true. My friends and I might still be 11, and we might still be in elementary school, but we know life isn't equal for everyone, and we know what is right and wrong. We also know that we stand in the shadow of the Capitol, and we know that we have 7 short years until we too have the right to vote. So I'm here today to honor the words of Toni Morrison. If there is a book that you want to read but it hasn't been written yet, you must be the one to write it. I urge everyone here and everyone who hears my voice to join me in telling the stories that aren't told. To honor the girls, the women of color who were murdered at disproportionate rates in this nation. Each of you to help me write the narrative for this world and understand so that these girls and women are never forgotten. Thank you.
Okay, so that was a pretty heavy speech, right? So let's talk a little bit. I have 2 questions for you. So my first question, let me move my stuff around, is let's drop something in the chat, right? So my first question is, just you as a viewer, right? We are just viewers who have watched this thing. What do we see? What do we feel, right? Watching this social media video. You could just drop it in chat. You could message me individually in the chat, whatever feels comfortable for you. What do you see? What does it make you feel? Let's take just a minute to just drop it in there. Inspired by her words, right? You can tell I can tell how long she could have possibly worked on a speech like this, right? The research that went into it, her passion for the cause she was fighting for, inspired, empowered. The news organization didn't overpower her words. They just added the captions to make sure you got it. Especially early on, she was talking a little fast. As somebody who has a tendency to talk really fast, I get it, right? Especially the adrenaline coming, you're talking really fast. Those captions can help the audience understand what she's saying, making sure we're not missing anything. Very powerful, sincerity, passion, her emotion, right? Now let's put on, it was very seeing how large the crowd, that helped shape her impact. That's actually like the perfect segue, awestruck by her powerful words, right? Let's talk a little bit now. I have another question. Coming from people who create stuff. Now we are creative, we are news people, we are editors. What did you see from that perspective? What were the shots you saw? Emma, so, that was a perfect segue to say that, like, how large the crowd was. Like, that shows the impact, right? That wide shot to show it, right? She mentions, the Capitol, and it pans back and you can see the Capitol behind her while she's speaking. What are some other things that we could see as people who might want to recreate something like this? Audience close up, like I love those shots of the audience, right? We can see that these are all young people, right? This is a march and this is a speech for young people by a young person, and we can see who her intent was, right? Like, who was she intending to reach? And we could really see a lot of that emotion in their faces, right? We could see how her speech landed. And shot of the other speakers cheering her on, right? We saw that. We saw like the other people who were on the stage, how excited they were, so a speech is one thing, but how people react to the speech is a totally other aspect that we are pulling in, right? One thing that I think people ask a lot, or at least I've heard a lot in classrooms and when we have guest speakers, a question is like, well, okay, how can I be a journalist and an activist? And I would say is that doing our job really well and highlighting what is happening is an active activism in itself, right? Being able to say, I am going to give you this full picture of what happened in this moment. I am not overpowering this speaker. I am not putting my opinion in on this speaker. I, though, am accurately capturing what happened, right? And that is such an important part of our jobs. Is like, you weren't there, right? The audience, we weren't there. So they brought us there. Okay. Great answers, y'all. Okay. Now we're gonna talk a little bit more about what worked. Helped bring the audience there, right? With a very simple structure, right? These were like a couple different angles, add captions, edit those angles together, right? This could have been shot on an iPhone. You do not have to have really expensive equipment to do something like this. Maybe an iPhone, and then maybe even like a stand or an iPod. I keep like a little stand or something by my desk, right? So just having something to maybe help you not have shaky video, but you could have done this on an iPhone or a smartphone, any phone you have, right? And this could literally be a beginner level. There's also, free tools that maybe, like, for example, if let's say you upload this video to YouTube, you can select a button and YouTube will automatically start to transcribe the captions for you. And then you just go in and edit them and make them right. Because those automatic transcription services, not too great, but they do a little jump start on it for you. And you can then hop in and edit that. So a news update, right? Something has happened. It could have happened anywhere. Something has happened and you use pictures and footage that you have access to tell this story. So let's look at an example of what happened. I want to say this was maybe 2018, maybe. And so we're going to watch this quick video, but notice, we're going to talk a little bit more about like the structure of it, but notice very importantly that they only use pictures and footage. So you could be anywhere in the world, something has happened, but you want to bring context and explain stuff to your audience.
said no to the Super Bowl. You need me, I don't need you.
Okay, so we talk about not being there, right? So something has happened, and we know that we are a very headline-driven society when it comes to social media. You literally just see the headline. So many people share stuff. We're not even reading the story, right? So something has happened, and you want to provide some type of context to what has happened. Well, you don't have to have been there to be able to explain it, right? One thing, again, a really important part of our jobs as journalists and storytellers is to make stuff make sense. So somebody was able to take these, say, hey, something just happened. What is everybody talking about? Everybody is talking about Jay-Z and the NFL. Even in my circles, we were all talking about it, right? And so a video like this can say, okay, but what really happened? What are people angry about? What is the controversy? And let me see actually how long this video is. It is for about 45 seconds. So in 45 seconds, right, you can even see they pulled in like part of Jay-Z's song, right? Like, oh, and in this song, he said this, okay. And this is what happened, and this is what happened before, and this is how we have gotten to this point. So just being able to say, okay, this is how we've gotten here is just a really important part of journalism. So let's talk about what worked, and what always works, right? We have places like AJ Plus, where this is really their bread and butter. These are the videos that they do. It's a way to get in on a national conversation. If everybody's talking about something, why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't your media organization get in on this? And you don't need to have been there, right? And really beginner to intermediate, because this can be as complicated or as easy as your skill level makes it. You can make this on any type of editing software that feels comfortable to you, and you are really doing a very big and important service to people. Okay, now this is a very more complicated. Now we're going to talk about a little bit more complicated video, right? Something that is also really important, explain some stuff, but it's probably something that you might want to spend a little bit more time on, right? This is something that maybe, let's say, there are some, great example, when COVID first happened, we didn't really know what COVID was, right? We didn't know what was happening, a pandemic. This was new for all of us, right? That is something where there's an opportunity where people don't understand something and you want to explain it to them. So we're gonna listen to or watch this video of something that happened a long time ago, but it brings context, right? So I don't know how many people, okay, if you've ever heard, and I feel like you probably have not, but let's say if you've ever heard of the Oprah Effect, right? Where you have a thumbs up down at your reactions. Give me a thumbs up on your thing. Okay. So what I love about this is this explains the Oprah Effect to us, right? I kind of remembered it, but this video was really helpful because it gave me some context that I didn't even have, right? And now I can explain it to people. So we're gonna take a look at this longer video. It's a little bit longer. I may not play the whole thing. I'll probably play a good portion of it. And I want you to pay attention to maybe some of the stuff that you learn as a viewer, just as an audience person, but also let's pay attention to some of what you're learning as or what you're seeing as somebody who might want to create this, right? Think about something that you could do after we talk about this. Maybe spend a couple months trying to do an explainer on something. This is something maybe if you are at a school newspaper, you might want to spend the semester or the quarter working on. So, okay, let's get started with this one.
Mad cow disease was a hysteria that swept America.
This is serious.
So Oprah goes, well, I'm off beat. And there's something called the Oprah Effect.
I didn't know that Oprah could be sued. Shouldn't that be in the law somewhere that Oprah can't be sued?
Free speech not only lives, it rocks.
2019. Is it the year of the vegan? Seems like everywhere you turn, it's impossible this, beyond that. Heck, guys, even 80% of the Wu-Tang Clan is vegan now. But how did we get here? When did America turn its back on good old-fashioned beef? Let me take you on a trip back to the 90s, when America was in the midst of a full-on panic over mad cow disease. Bad beef was infiltrating supermarket shelves, making its way into our homes and onto our dinner tables, eventually making all of us sick. Worst case scenario, it kills us all. Well, at least that's what a lot of worried Americans thought at the time.
It's not a very intimidating name. Mad cow is like, who wants a holiday? Why is the cow mad? Maybe we calm the cow down. The cow wouldn't, cause us so much problems helping her.
Did they go to the mental hospital and get right again, and now cows are good?
What is mad cow? Let Professor Hayes break it down for you. BSE, or bovine spongiform encephalopathy, aka mad cow disease, is a progressive, fatal brain disease in cattle. And guys, how it's spread is kind of gross.
It's spread by contaminated feed. So the cattle were essentially being fed ground up carcasses of other cows.
So like cannibalism, but like for cows.
That's like weed art. They were feeding cows. Now, let me tell you something. If you were feeding me people and I didn't know it, I'd be pretty mad too.
Yeah, I warned you. But actually, humans can't get mad cow. They get variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. And well, this next part isn't pretty either.
You had to eat like spinal tissue or maybe brain tissue or nerve tissue. Sounds delicious.
It was BCJD getting people sick. But still, people referred to it as mad cow disease when talking about both humans and animals. Because it's sexier, right? So, Captain. Moo to you too. In the US, prior to 1996, there were 0 confirmed cases of BCJD.
0 cases of mad cow in America, but of course, we went mad.
The meat was tainted. We knew it was primarily coming from England, I think, but it wasn't concerned to us because, English food in general. Ugh.
What was the queen of them doing, allowing that to go on? Sipping tea all classy while serving people bad parts of cows. That ain't right.
I think at that time in the US, there wasn't a cause to avoid all beef products or to avoid burgers, but there was definitely reason to be concerned.
We don't want to scare people to think that there's a crisis.
There is no definitive proof that a human being has become affected with any of these diseases.
U.S. beef is safe, plain and simple.
So what, or should I say, who was behind American mad cow paranoia? Insert Oprah Winfrey.
People don't know, here's the hierarchy, okay? There's God the Father, then there's Jesus, and then there's Oprah.
Oprah was on. Liz took the remote, honey, and said, everybody should take your seat.
At work, Oprah lowered productivity. Had a bunch of women around the TV. Oh my God, what's Oprah going to say today?
In April of 1996, the Oprah Winfrey Show aired an episode on food safety. One segment included a discussion about mad cow disease featuring Howard Lyman, a vegetarian and animal rights activist. In the episode, he predicted that eventually the disease would plague the U.S. beef industry, to which Oprah declared the discussion, quote, stop me cold from eating another burger.
You saw like the heads of cows everywhere go up. And a bunch of chickens were like, oh, did Oprah just say she was off beef? Oh, y'all, we in trouble.
Nearly 2 weeks after that episode aired, beef prices in the U.S. dropped, eventually reaching a 10-year low. The episode was widely viewed as a direct correlation to the plunge in beef prices.
A bunch of guys in Texas, Kansas City, run cattle, talk like this. Said, I'll be damned. That black woman going to tell people how to eat.
When Oprah announced beef on her show, it was like cattle ranchers across the U.S. heard her say, you get mad cow, you get mad cow, and you get mad cow! And so began Texas beef group Be Winfrey in Amarillo, Texas.
I didn't know that Oprah could be sued. Shouldn't that be in the law somewhere that Oprah can't be sued? Can you put that in the Constitution?
I always admired Oprah. I mean, she's done really a lot of wonderful things for a lot of people. And she was a former journalist too, so I could completely relate to that. And I think most people really in Amarillo at that time were the same way. They liked Oprah a lot. And they were a bit shocked, I think, that she found herself in a lawsuit with Paul Engler, who was one of the biggest cattlemen in the area. And he had a wonderful reputation as well.
On February 26, 1998, the jury voted unanimously in Winfrey's favor. She emerged victorious from the courthouse and addressed the press.
Free speech not only lives, it rocks.
They lost. Of course they lost. It was a jury trial. She looked at the jury and she was like, you're getting a car, and you're getting a car, and you're getting a car. It was a ridiculous premise because, quite frankly, Oprah making a, what they call excited utterance about beef is not a sustained campaign that says, please stop eating beef.
If the trial happened today and we were talking about social media, we had to put the hashtags for it. You can have a nice play on words about beef, like Oprah got beef, Oprah don't got beef, Oprah stay winning, because she does.
Hashtag Nopra, okay? That's what I'm going with. Because they were like, give us $11 million. And she was like, Nopra.
Obviously, the big thing for them and for Engler and everybody else was beef is safe, because essentially they put that information out there even though they had lost the lawsuit.
We do believe that we made one very strong point, very emphatically, very clear to everyone, U.S. beef is safe.
Did all that fuss and faux hysteria over beef actually stop people from eating it? Not so much.
I think my family went the opposite way. We didn't really have a choice. It was like, you have to finish what's on your plate. So it was like, mad cow. And he's like, mad dad, eat your food.
It definitely does kind of have a little bit of an influence on like my future choices. Like I'll probably do my research, but it's not going to stop me from eating Korean barbecue. I definitely love that, so.
But guys, despite the hype, it looks like Americans never got off beef to begin with. According to the USDA, Americans are eating more meat than ever before. And there have only been 6 confirmed cases of BSE in America since the scare in the 90s. Meanwhile, other animal-borne diseases like West Nile are a serious threat, killing more than 100 people last year alone. So, what have we learned here? Basically, that there's always something to worry about. So, you might as well go ahead and enjoy a good burger, meatless or the real thing.
Mad cow disease was a hysteria.
Okay, so we have learned about something that you probably didn't know about because you probably were not born when this happened. But one thing that I personally love about this is that I love historical explainers. So let's talk a little bit. Let's do the same thing that we did for that video of Naomi Wadler. As now, put on just your audience hat. What did you see? What did you feel? What did you experience in this video? Okay, so there were many relatable clips from the staff, which made the longer video more watchable. That is such an important point. So the funny thing is that when I looked at the time, I was like, oh, this is 7 minutes. This is a long video. We won't have time to watch this whole video. But then I looked up and we were at the end, right? So having people that have a personality and pulling them into this really made it not feel so long.
surprised with the things they said and amused at the way they incorporated humor, right? There was a joke every couple seconds. I love jokes. I don't know about y'all, but that is my favorite thing to do. And so anything that can keep me laughing and giggling is a win for me. I could tell that each of the speakers spoke with lots of emotion, right? So they weren't saying, oh, so Oprah got sued and yeah, so Oprah got sued, and which is also like to people's credit. Sometimes you interview people on camera and you think they're a great talker. That light comes on and they're just like, yes, mad cow disease was a unfortunate event that's changed the history of blah blah blah, right? So being able to find people who are great on camera, utilizing people in your organization that are great on camera. The video was colorful, right? And the facts were clearly displayed. Information was broken down so that viewers could understand what mad cow was without ever hearing it before, right? Like again, they even showed like some people who worked at BuzzFeed who were like, I was not born in 1996, right? But they were able to understand it and make sense, which also is a benefit because if you are creating a video and you know a lot about something, having people in on that process that did it is a great way to see if you're really explaining it, because the point of an explainer should be that if nobody has seen this before or heard this before, that they walk away with more knowledge. It moved really fast. Again, it felt like it was just moving. Ignore my son. He's listening to like a Little Bad Wolf and they like yell in the Little Bad. I don't know why the Little Bad Wolf yells, but that's another thing. That's a video I do not like because he's yelling in there. I don't know much about the topic, but they did a great job explaining it, right? While still making it funny and creative. And it felt engaged. You felt engaged with the story and wanted to know more about what's going on. And the personal reflections, right? People commenting on Oprah. Can you sue Oprah? That should be against the Constitution, right? And then at the end, they did like a kind of simplified recap, right? So one thing that I love, which is also a good way to segue into our producer's hat, right? Our journalist hat, is at the beginning, they showed like a little time like, hey, we're going to talk about this, this, this. We have promised you something, which is one thing that is really important with longer video. And I'd also say, I know we're talking about video, but longer audio is just something that you'll find is that because people aren't physically looking at something all the time, right? They're hearing stuff. You need to remind them. You have to say, listen, I am making a promise to you. I am going to deliver this, this, this. I'm going to tell you what happened about mad cow disease. I'm going to explain the resolution. I'm going to also make it relevant. So they did that. And then at the end, they said, so in summary, let's talk about what we learned. That's not something that we may traditionally do in a traditional print story. If this explainer on mad cow disease was a print story, we wouldn't write it this way, right? But this is video. So we're going to tell you again at the start, we're going to make a promise to you. And then at the end, we're going to bring it on home and summarize. Okay, these are great things to notice. So let's talk a little bit more about what worked, right? And again, these are all things we mentioned, but we're summarizing. Now we're doing what they did. We're summarizing what we just talked about, right? So this incorporated the personality of the media organization and the people that work there. And it really teaches something, right? As the person doing the story, I'm sure they learned stuff, but also just like from 7 minutes, any of us can now go and start a conversation and say, do y'all remember what happened with mad cow disease? Or, yeah, no, you weren't born yet. Let me tell you what happened. I am a mad cow disease expert at this point. I know what happened with the Oprah Effect. I can tell you what happened in Texas. Don't you worry, I got you. But really it's that historical context that makes it all be the same. It also kind of debunks some stuff, right? So if let's say there is, like, it started off like it appears that everybody's vegan, but then at the end we know that like people are actually eating meat more than ever. So that is not an issue. And I think this came out in like 2018. So maybe not, I don't want to say today, but I'm sure not that much has changed since then. And it also really gives you the opportunity, though, to shine light on your reporters and other people on your team, which I think that sometimes in journalism institutions, we might forget about that, right? Like, we are a place full of people. And so you have all these people with all this knowledge and all this experience. Let's say there is something that, is an explainer about, let's say there's an explainer about something that several of your reporters on your high school newspaper have been talking about, right? Let's say you've been talking about it, or they've been reporting and researching and interviewing people, and now it's the perfect opportunity to put that together for an explainer, right? Not only does it help support the reporting that your reporters were doing, but it also really shows, it gives them the opportunity to be experts and to be like kind of subject matter experts on their thing. And when we talk about social media and stuff being shared, nowadays that is important. It is important to kind of be an expert on something, right? And so you're able to provide that if you're like an editor, or if you just have an idea as a reporter. It shows what you know and all the hard work you've put into something. But of course, explainer videos are tough. They're really hard to do. I had a video series that was on social media that I started at WBEZ when I worked there. That's Chicago's public radio station. And it was tough, right? It's hard to do. It's a lot of editing. It's a lot of time you put into it. But you can learn, and like our videos progressively got better, right? So we first started and they were really simple, and then they got better and better and easier, which actually how are we doing on time? We got time, and I'm actually going to show you one of the videos that we did. It was like really simple, and it was fun. And I actually think that this is good for this. So actually, hold on one second. My computer has been freezing, y'all. And my little mouse is freezing too. Also, while I'm doing this, feel free, if you have any questions, I am here for you, right? I'm excited to be with y'all today, and I know I only have you for a few more minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free. I think it's my PowerPoint. PowerPoint has been freezing up on me all day, and it's messing up my computer. Okay. I'm sorry, it's really, my whole mouse is frozen. I'm sorry, Stacey. I don't know why my computer has frozen. It's never done this before, but my whole mouse is gone.
It always happens when we leave
screen is frozen.
Does anyone have questions that you could put in the chat so we can continue discussing while we're having our technical issues?
Yeah. Maybe can you kick me out and I'll rejoin, and maybe you can do the giveaway while I'm doing that?
Sure, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Would you want to email it or text it, or email it to me, and then I could share my screen and play it?
Yeah, I could. My whole mouse is frozen. I can't even exit out of anything.
I see. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just totally frozen. It's never done this before.
Okay.
If I send you out though, you may not be able to get back in. That's my concern. So.
Oh, gotcha.
Is it something that If you text it to me, I could Google it and then maybe put it
Oh
in if it's
yeah,
not downloaded. Okay.
absolutely. And then you can like stop the reshare for me. Yep, I'll send you that right now. That's perfect.
We'll find a workaround one way or the other.
Yeah, for sure.
In the meantime, I will announce our winner of our hat. Hang on, I just had it in front of me. The winner is Ginny Kin from California. So congratulations. We hope you enjoy your Medill baseball hat and wear it with purple pride, as we like to say.
Thank you. I didn't even know there was a giveaway.
And I do have everyone's address from the registration, so I'll just be putting that in the mail to you. You should get it in a couple of days.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Beth, I just shared it with you by text message. That was going to be my other thing. I also have like a backup computer, so that's why it's funny, because it's like, that was going to be my second thing, like, let me get my other computer and log in. I'm going to log in by phone too. And the best part about it is that we were trying to make videos in 3 minutes or less. So the video will not take up more than 3 minutes of our allotted time.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share it now.
Thank you.
A producer here at WBEZ, and this is 3 in 3, the news you need to know in 3 minutes or less. Depending on where you live or who you are, you could possibly pronounce Chicago street names differently. Like, is it Troop or is it Throop? Well, today I'm talking with Curious City reporter Monica Ang about why there's so many different ways to pronounce Chicago street names, how the CTA determines its pronunciation, and if we'll all ever be in agreement. Hi, Monica.
Hey, Arionne.
You recently answered a Curious City question about this, but why are there so many ways to pronounce Chicago streets?
Well, there are 3 reasons we have some odd pronunciations. I talked to Professor David Durian, who studies linguistics at the Bloomberg University. He specifically looks at the Chicago accent. He said one reason is because of ethnic immigration. For instance, to Bridgeport, we had a lot of Irish immigrants, and there's not a strong TH sound in that language. So if you're looking at a street that goes through Bridgeport, like Throop, THROOP, people just pronounced it Troop, and they also pronounced the street 33rd Turdy Turd. And so he said that the Irish immigrants and then their descendants just pronounced it that way, and it kind of stuck. Another one would be something like Cuyler. It was actually named after a guy named Cuyler, but it's spelled Cuyler, and so out of respect for the way we pronounce his name, we say it that way. But then you have things like Monticello and Devon. He said that's an Americanization of these words, and we see them and say them the way we see them. Also, Paulina, we knew about North Carolina, so we thought, okay, Paulina should be pronounced Paulina.
And so when I'm on the bus or the L and I hear the announcer pronounce the next street stop, how does the CTA determine how those are pronounced?
Well, that's a whole other story. The CTA says they have a big group of people that includes historians, community leaders, people who are on their planning committee, also street guides, and they mush all that information together. And so when you have these more challenging streets, they say we take all that input and then we decide. So they came up with Troop for this THROOP street that goes through Bridgeport. But then when it came to a Gold Coast street named after a German poet spelled Goethe, well, a lot of Chicagoans, strangely, they say it Gothy or Goethe or Goth. And if you want a cab to take you there, that's normally what you should say. But the CTA decided we're going to go with Goethe.
So is everybody in agreement?
Well, no one in Chicago is ever going to be in total agreement. But it's interesting that we have these quirks, and it's interesting to what extent the CTA will mimic what a lot of people in Chicago say versus, I don't know, the way the poet in Germany might have pronounced it.
Which is?
Goethe.
Thank you so much, Monica.
Thank you.
I'm Arionne Nettles, and that's it for today's 3 in 3. For more info, follow us on Twitter at WBEZ Curious City.
So thank you so much, guys. I'm making sure that I'm missing some. I was trying to respond to everybody in the chat. So my apologies if I am missing you, but also I know that some people need to run the class and I don't want to make you late. So as we've chatted out before, you are free to contact me later if you have any more questions, but this has been such a great hour and I just really appreciate you working with me, even through our little technical difficulties and being such an amazing group to work with. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Arionne, for giving us an hour of your time today. That was really, really fun. And I hope everybody here enjoyed it. And just as a reminder, you will get an email with the recording in a couple of days. And thanks again for everybody for participating in our Medill High School Journalism Live programming. We hope to bring some of it back next year, and we'll keep you on our mailing list and certainly tell you all about that when we have it ready. So thanks again, everyone, and please stay safe.